My family used to be dirt poor, so I never got to buy a single thing I wanted. The clothes I wore were all hand-me-downs from the neighborhood kids, and my snacks were nothing but rock sugar. Even so, my parents made sure I got a proper compulsory education. However, all my school supplies were also hand-me-downs. I'd been given second-hand stuff my whole life, so I never really felt dissatisfied, but there was one thing I really hated. It was the hand-me-down study desk. Even though it was second-hand, that desk still had a brand new shine to it. When you opened the drawer, the fragrant scent of wood wafted out. I liked that desk so much that, in my spare time, I'd do something totally out of character, sit at it and read books. About a week after I got the desk, I had a strange experience. As usual, I was sitting in my chair, reading a book on the desk. Suddenly, I felt something cold touch my right foot. I was in the middle of reading, so I didn't pay it much attention. I just shifted my foot so it wouldn't touch the chilly thing. But after a while, I felt that cold sensation again on my foot. It creeped me out, so I nudged that cold thing away with my right foot. When I did, I felt a weird, squishy sensation at the tip of my toes. Even as my eyes stayed on the book on top of the desk, my mind was now focused on whatever my foot had just encountered under it. Carefully, I moved my right foot, feeling the surface of that squishy thing. It had lumps and holes here and there. Some parts were soft, while others were hard, and I had no clue what it could be. My toes continued exploring the surface as if flicking over it, until finally they reached the top. The moment I felt what seemed like a bunch of thin, thread-like strands, I realized what my foot was touching. I slowly bent my body forward and peeked under the desk. There was a pale, bluish boy there. My toes were resting on his head. The shock made me topple over backward, chair and all, but my eyes stayed locked on that boy under the desk. The boy, too, just kept staring at me without moving an inch. I couldn't even stand up, so I crawled out of the room on all fours. I went straight to my dad and told him what I'd seen, tears streaming down my face. But he didn't believe me at all. Even if he had believed me, we didn't have the money to buy a new desk. There was no way we could replace it. In the end, I continued using that desk all through elementary school. Every so often when I was studying, the chilly sensation would touch my foot again, but I just avoided looking under the desk. I was too scared that boy might still be there. Deep down, I was sure he was, but I thought I could handle it if I just never saw him. Once I got to middle school, I casually asked my mom about it. I wanted to know whose desk I was using. She hesitated a bit before answering. That desk came from Wataru's house. You remember Wataru from the neighborhood? Wataru was the same age as me, and we'd gone to kindergarten together. Right before we were supposed to start elementary school, he fell into a river and died. Wataru had apparently been so smart that he'd started studying even before classes began. He must have been sitting at that desk, daydreaming about all the excitement of the coming school life. Once I learned the truth, I wasn't scared of Wataru under the desk anymore. I figured I'd studied hard enough for both of us. Wataru still touched my foot from time to time, but I decided that whenever he did, it was his way of telling me, keep it up. That encouragement gave me the boost I needed, and before long, I got pretty good at my studies. Not long after that, baseball became popular at my middle school. I wanted to join in, too, but I had no money for a bat or a glove. So, as always, I turned to my dad for help. Just wait a bit, he said. A few months later, he handed me a bat and a glove. They were used again, of course, but that didn't bother me. Now I could play baseball. I joined in with the others and had a blast. But one day, one of my friends looked at my glove and said, "Isn't that Yoshiro's glove?" Yoshiro was a classmate of ours and a member of the school baseball team. He was super talented, and he'd been a regular on the team since our first year. But Yoshiro had died recently. On his way home, he apparently fell into the river and drowned. When I realized the glove I'd been using was originally Yoshiro's, I decided I would enjoy baseball enough for the both of us. Then, a thought crossed my mind. Something about Yoshiro and Wataru felt similar. Both died young, and both died the same way, in the same place. And I'd ended up with something that had belonged to each of them. It felt like more than just a coincidence. A few months later, I asked my dad for another favor. This time, I wanted a video game console. As usual, he said, just wait a bit. 2 weeks later, he gave me a console, another hand-me-down, of course. Then I remembered reading an article in the paper just before that. A local middle schooler had drowned and died in the nearby river. A chill ran through me. That night, I was in my room, studying like I always did, when something touched my foot again. For years, I believed that was Wataru encouraging me under the desk. But the truth was something else entirely. That something was desperately trying to tell me something. Even now, I still can't bring myself to look under the desk.